Plasterwork was a wonderful surprise. I remember well the meeting that we had when someone asked, "Is there a 10-foot ladder here?" And we peeked above the drop ceiling tile and saw the very first bracket in the reading room on the first floor. It sparked a question of whether we would be able to have those shine as a part of future Carrier.
What we heard again and again from students is, though they love the kinds of high-tech spaces that we're designing, they really care about our preserving historic features of Carrier. What was a tremendous surprise were these gorgeous column capitals and the coffered ceiling that had been covered up by a drop ceiling for decades. So taking those ceiling panels down, one by one and seeing what was underneath, hugely exciting for us.
To be back on campus and always be around that energy is pretty awesome. This is the first project in a long time where we're really modifying and doing additions into kind of the historic part of campus here off of the quad. So to be able to make sure those elements kind of speak to that history, because you get that sense of feeling when you walk in. They're like, oh, this is old, but it's kind of cool to be able to rejuvenate that.
Maintaining these features is important because it showcases the original feel of the building. And it kind of takes you back in time and helps you to understand what this building originally was almost 100 years ago. And I think that it's important to see how that is able to be integrated into a more modern design that's more functional by today's standards.
The Carrier project is unique in many ways. The mindset was that it would be seamless for the student to go from the expansion to the renovation, to preserve the capitals and the brackets and to remake them with the staff we have here on site today, is that we don't have a lot of that on our campus. We're just over 100 years old and we just don't have those features. To be a part of this and to be able to preserve those is huge.
This is something that not a lot of people understand very well these days, or even have the skills to actually perform the work. So there is a lot of coordination, a lot of planning, and a lot of surgical work that has to happen in order to safely perform all the work, but also be able to preserve things in a fashion that they are aesthetically pleasing at the end, and that can be very challenging.
The Carrier Library project is a large plaster restoration project that we're working on. We're restoring the ceilings, the molding, the walls, and restoration work is our bread and butter. We love to do it. We love to take any type of historical space and just bring it back to life. These features would be created in 1939 the same way as we're doing right now.
You can see right here, this is an original piece. This is a piece that we're making, and it's made out of the same material. It's plaster mold and burlap. The first step is to make a cast. Once we have the impression of the mold, we'll take it down and then we'll fabricate it the same exact way they did it 50, 60 years ago. There was a building that we recently worked in Yonkers, which was the home of George Washington. And that's a challenge that we love to take on, to work in the most historical buildings and also preserve the history of this country. Ornamental plaster will change the entire building, will add character. Not only that, it's almost like an imprint of the architect, the time, the design. It will let you know when the building was built. It will let you know the craftsmanship that you can see, the skill that went behind it. It changes the building completely. Compared to downstairs, a lot of the columns had to get repaired. The capitals on top of it got repaired. You can see the difference between the new plaster and the existing. The existing obviously has the original color. Once it's painted, you'll never be able to tell that it was ever patched. People will walk in here and say, this looks beautiful. They don't know really the work that went behind it. There's a good detail right here that was all done by hand by Julio and some of the craftsmen downstairs.
I'm so excited that Milo Plastering has a chance to come and help with this restoration. Once the space is complete, they're gonna love it.
Oh, when people step in the building at the end of the day, it's gonna be awesome. Just having spent so much time there when I was a student and knowing where you were then to what it looks like now, being drastically different, I hope it's a wow moment for everybody on campus when they step into that space.
It's not for a generation, but from generations to come. It's for the students today and for their families for tomorrow.
Libraries themselves are all about connecting our past to our futures, and I think that people will see that when they walk into the renovated and expanded Carrier Library.
It's really important to highlight the way that all of the different groups responsible for different pieces of this project came together. The architects, the design team, it was our contractor, it was everyone in between, all the way up to the master crafts people that are recreating and repairing those elements. So really, the plaster work is just one example of the level of care and attention to detail that will really help bring all of Carrier back online.
And it felt like a way to honor what we heard from our student body, preserve that feeling that we have now of walking into Carrier, where we can feel the echoes of the past. Like we can hear that. We can hear all the students who came before us. It feels like it's got all of the knowledge of previous generations of Dukes sort of soaked into its bones. So don't wash that out. And it's gonna just be amazing to open the doors of the new Carrier, have our students walk in and see that.